Good evening, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us. After more than a year of negotiation, the Topeka Firefighters Union says it's at an impasse with the city over a new contract. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Your top story on 10 at 10, former Shawnee County Sheriff Dave Meneely is no longer a certified law enforcement officer here in the state of Kansas. Good evening, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us tonight. Your top story tonight involves some good news about how much serious crime is really committed in your neighborhood. A study based on FBI statistics back in May put Topeka at number 5 on the list of cities with the worst crime. News Source 49's Megan Mozak joins us with a lot more on this. Our state is called the Sunflower State, so the KBI is working very hard to make sure there's no marijuana growing here. A crackdown on marijuana begins this week as the KBI prepares to take wing to scan the countryside for illegal crops of pot. KBI officials say they expect the annual crackdown to be even more successful this year than last. About 1 million plants were seized in 1999. A KBI spokesman says dealers use wild marijuana strains to supplement cultivated crops in hopes of increasing their profits. A family waits as divers search an East Texas lake. Authorities say a 24-year-old man may have drowned. Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Tony Cornett. It began as a day just enjoying the water. Authorities say the victim and another person were both riding on a jet ski when they suddenly fell off. That happened around 7 o'clock this evening at the Cedar Creek Reservoir in Henderson County. It's off Farm to Market Road 334 near Gun Barrel City. Police tell us the driver of the jet ski was rescued from the water, but the passenger has not yet been located. The 24-year-old man was not wearing a life jacket. Right now, several volunteer rescue boats are dragging the lake in a search pattern, and divers are ready to go in. No word yet on what caused the victim and the driver to fall off that jet ski. Tyler police arrest 1 man and 2 juveniles suspected in a string of armed robberies last night. Officers say they arrested 18-year-old Jerry Dwayne Jeter along with the juveniles as they were leaving the scene of the last robbery. Police say they hit 4 apartment complexes starting just before 5:30 yesterday evening. Officers found all the victims' stolen property and a revolver victims say the suspects displayed. Police say Jeter and his accomplices first stole a couple's wallet and a purse at Hunters Glen Apartments. 5 hours later, police say the men hit 3 more complexes in less than an hour: River Oaks, Quail Creek, and Stone Creek apartments. No one was injured. All 3 suspects are from Tyler. A Dallas man is charged with aggravated assault with intent to cause serious bodily injury to a child. Police say 48-year-old Charles Morgan got into a car chase with his wife. She claims he tried to run her off the road last night by bumping into her and causing a minor accident. A 5-year-old girl was in the back seat of his wife's car. Police say the child received a few cuts when the back window was broken by the accident. Lori, I'm just a couple of blocks up the hill from the Morris County Courthouse, which, as everyone knows by now, is the location from which Scotty Adam made his escape. And I want to get right to the very latest information we have tonight. So first, we're joined by Sergeant Bruce Hyman, who is with the Kansas Highway Patrol. Thanks for joining us, Sergeant. And the Sheriff's Department is certainly a hive of activity down there tonight. What's going on?
Yes, they are.
All right. Thanks very much, Sergeant. Lori, I can tell you we have seen evidence of the search going on here all evening long. We are in a very quiet neighborhood. We're, in fact, at the intersection of Belfry and Hayes, which belies all the activity that's going on south of town.
News Source 49's Tony Cornett is down in Carbondale, and he joins us now with the latest. Tony?
Well, Lori, there's a reason that people use the term train wreck to describe what they see as a big mess. We've got a real train wreck that's happened here right behind us. I think you can see it over my shoulder here, all that activity behind me. We've got the real thing, and it is exactly that. It is a great big mess. What is going on right now is that investigators are beginning the process of trying to figure out what caused this Amtrak passenger train to derail.
That's about 15 miles south of Topeka, and that's where we find Tony Cornett. Tony, what's going on right now?
Well, Lori, I can tell you that right now we've got some pretty miserable conditions out here. The National Transportation Safety Board investigators arrived on the scene here just a few hours ago. They are scouring this area that you can see right here behind me, perhaps, looking for clues into what exactly happened here today. I will tell you they must have a very similar frame of mind this evening than a lot of us do, and that is it is wet, it is cold, it is, in short, a miserable time. But they are going at it the best they can. Investigators are trying to figure out, as I said, what exactly happened here this evening.
There's Tony out there in the elements once again, and
he must be cold.
And he's still smiling, though.
Well, now I know what Ed means when he says it's going to be interesting. It is interesting where I am. We're still perched down here at the intersection of 21st and Wanamaker, and again, I say people are behaving themselves pretty well on the roads here, although that gentleman's about to slide off the road, it looks like.
Some of the do's and don'ts of child safety seats. Tony?
That's right, Becky and Dan, and I cannot imagine a more significant mission for our Children First reports than to actually be protecting and saving the lives of our kids. Here to help me do that this afternoon is John Hartnett, who is a registered nurse practitioner and also a child safety seat technician. Thanks for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you.
Okay, tell us first about this particular. It's the first of 3 different kinds. What is this seat?
This is a child safety seat that's designed for infants.
John, thanks a lot. I must tell you, folks, this is the Cornett family unit, and I, who do this kind of thing for a living, have learned a lot, and I hope you have too, and maybe this will lead to all our kids staying nice and safe. Dan and Becky, back to you.
The Cornett family unit looks good.
Yeah, I think in my mind, I think that I won't get a family.
You think you won't get a family?
Yeah, it's been so long.
It has, almost 8 years, she says. But we're going to shake off the sadness and play some games here at Pocket Change. Oh, man. Tina has lived in a group home for almost 4 years. She says that sometimes the other kids can be pretty tough on her.
They talk about my mom, which I say I don't have a mom. I don't claim her as my mom.
Tina says she's a clean, tidy person who likes sports and kids. She helps out at a daycare center. Okay. I think you won that one. She says she tries to make friends, but says she's not always successful with the people she chooses.
People that are nice. They understand what you're going through. They talk out your problems. People that they like to hang out, which I don't do that very much.
I see now why they don't. Tina tells us she's working hard to learn life skills that will help her when she's on her own. The idea of never finding that new permanent family makes her sad, but still, she holds on to some hope that it can happen, even for an older kid like herself.
It would mean a lot. Start my life over.
She wants to win the big game of life. Who cares about losing a video game? Man, you had a lot of good wrecks, though. If that's worth anything to you.
I don't drive like that.
Oh, I didn't think so.
Well, every year, Hollywood spends millions and millions of dollars to harness the talents of thousands of people to create hundreds of motion pictures.
Boy, it is a huge business. The prints are distributed to the theaters, the copies to video and digital media are dubbed, and then that original film goes somewhere. Photojournalist Grady Reed and I traveled to that somewhere and discovered that it's the literal underground cinema.
And God is my witness, I'll never be hungry again.
When Gone with the Wind hit the silver screen back in 1939, it reflected the state of the cinematic art, all the glamour, romance, and power of Hollywood. But you won't believe where that film is today. Hutchinson, Kansas, a salt mining town, among other things. Hard to believe, but this is the front door to a mine where Hollywood salts away its old films. We leave the blue skies behind and head below ground.
We're going to journey 650 feet straight down underground. Take us about 60 seconds to go 650 feet.
Moving right along, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Oh, this is amazing.
It's kind of overwhelming, isn't it?
Wow.
That's KU film professor Chuck Berg. He's known about this place for years, and finally seeing it is a big thrill.
Box after box after box. Okay. So Lucas's classic Star Wars is right here. I thought I felt the Force.
A huge chunk of Hollywood has been stored here since the 60s. Names you know well. MGM, Turner Entertainment, Sony Pictures, 20th Century Fox, Warner Brothers. Rows and rows of cinema history, from the great to the cult to the relatively unknown.
You can imagine what it's like for a film professor to come into direct physical contact with all of these extraordinary, parts of our cinematic legacy. It's just really fantastic.
Lee Spence is president of Underground Vaults and Storage and our guide through the endless rows of boxes.
Yeah, you really do. You feel like you're preserving the whole movie industry right here in the salt mine.
And preservation is what this place is all about. Behind this door, UVS is finishing out another vault where even more film will be stored. A constant 68 degrees, 40% humidity, and perfect for storing sensitive materials like film. And at this depth, it's hard to imagine a more secure location for the product of millions of invested dollars and man-hours.
the creative energies, the financial input, all of these titles that represent various epics in Hollywood. The industry finally realized, you know, what an extraordinary gold mine they were sitting on, a gold mine and a salt mine.
So why is it so valuable? Well, among many reasons, including just because it is that with programming demands these days, this material just might be dusted off to enjoy a new life.
Oh, for all of us that love movies and indeed, you know, have some sort of appreciation for the history of not only movies but television, to have all of this, you know, original material here, it's a treasure trove.
It's arguable whether it's treasure, but 14 seasons worth of film from TV's Knots Landing is part of the trove, and it's this man's job to catalog it for the show's owners, entering data that's emailed to Hollywood, perhaps in preparation for some new syndication effort. In remote vaults, other workers labor away, entering data in solitude as if exiled to some special level of the underworld. We spend hours no sooner spotting one film classic than stumbling on another, from the noteworthy to the notorious. So we come across this box, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. The negatives right here, Paul Newman, Robert Redford. It's a classic. You look 2 boxes down. You remember this big monster TV flop, Cop Rock? Here's another one of those strange juxtapositions here. Up here you've got the wholesome, ultra wholesome Sound of Music. And then down here, the X-rated Fritz the Cat. And finally, Gone with the Wind, shelved next to the Dirty Dozen and Dr. Zhivago. Now we can leave, not because we're through nosing around, but because the last elevator is headed up from this surreal world that, looking back, is just a speck of light. So the next time you watch Gone with the Wind, remember, the real Scarlet is pining away for Rhett Butler, not in Hollywood, but beneath the Kansas plains.
After all, tomorrow is another day.
And it's certainly worth mentioning here that Underground Vaults and Storage has more customers than just the movie industry. There's every conceivable item we discovered: stamp, coin, and silver collections, wedding dresses, corporate records of all kinds. The secret formulas for Wrigley's chewing gum are down there, and somewhere down there, and the formula for the Uncola 7-Up is stored there as well. And there are human tissue samples, and there's even a U.S. government storage locker, government stuff, origin unknown, behind a locked steel door. And you know what's coming here. We talked with Lee Spence. We asked him if he could tell us what was behind this steel door, and he said he could tell us, but then he'd have to kill us. So we never found out.
We just kicked back and ate our popcorn and
watched the movies. It really comes back to the movies. So that was really probably the neatest thing of the whole
You just said experience. It was just a thrill. I mean, Gone with the Wind.
It was one of the most interesting things I've ever been involved with. It's we felt very privileged, and we thank everyone, Chuck Berg, Lee Spence, everyone who's involved.
It's fascinating. Something a lot of people don't know is right here in Kansas.
Well, they know now, hopefully.
Yeah, they do. Absolutely. Great. Thanks for being with us.
Good night, everybody. See you tomorrow.